Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I want to talk about the season Seal of Journey coins because this is a question I get pretty regularly, and especially for all of you new players wondering, oh, what should I get from the season stuff? I wanted to talk about this because nowadays Black Desert seems to be going into a more paid direction. We've already known that, but back in the day you used to be able to get the season tickets from whenever a new character comes out and they want you to play it. Now you kind of have to buy it. They removed it from the loyalties and everything. That kind of sucks. But anyway, the Seal of Journey tokens, I wanted to talk about what is priority and what should you get first. Assuming you are like kind of newish to the game or you don't spend a lot of money on the game, which is pretty common for new players. You just kind of figure out if you like the game first and whatnot. So let's go over all of the items. I'll kind of briefly go over what they do, as well as which ones I think newer players should get and which ones like endgame players should get when you just have a bunch of seals. So what are all of these items? What do they do? And, you know, what should you get? Mythical sensors. These things allow you to get 2 tier 9 horses and try to get the tier 10 horse. And nowadays in 2025 they give you a tier 10 for free by hitting like level 61 or something. So it's one of these things that back in the day when you were doing seasons, these were actually a good reward because you had to actually get your tier 10. And you know, nowadays when they give you one for free, it's a little bit less relevant. I would probably hold off on this one until later on. So eventually the goal is to get the what is it? Krogdalo Sanctuary, which allows you to have 3 tier 10s and have a stable. So basically it looks like this, and then you put your 3 horses in there and you could call them. It's actually a nice feature, but it's not something a new player really wants to get early on because they give you one for free. Combats and skill XP exchange tokens. Basically these are reroll tokens, and then, you know, you just exchange your XP from one character to the other. And nowadays, unless you're thinking about hard re-rolling, these are not really relevant because the tag system exists. So if you wanted to play another character, just tag it and it's significantly cheaper. So yeah, unless you're planning on hard re-rolling because you really just straight up don't like your class, yeah, this is about it. Not really super important, just whenever. Flora Almost accessory box is a try life skill accessory. So let me show you. Let me see. Do I have a character with it? Yes, these things. And basically these are entry level and they give you mastery for all of you life skillers out there. I think this is a pretty good one, especially if you're new and you're working on other gear and you're like, oh, I don't want to spend on life skills. So these are good pretty early on, good entry level ones nowadays. So it's probably like a couple billion worth of, you know, instead of buying a Monos, you can get this one, so it's not bad. Weapon exchange coupons. It goes hand to hand with the combat scroll. You exchange your weapons. This one is combat and skill and everything. So next we have Advice of Valks. These are fail stacks. I don't think these are worth it early on because as a new player, the game kind of just showers you with a lot of rewards and stuff. You're probably already overwhelmed. And I would say not to get this early on because when you're in seasons, you're probably like, oh, 100 stack, and you're going to use it on something dumb, especially as a new player. Like, I get it. Trust me, if I failed like 15 times in a row as a new player, I'd be frustrated and see this and probably use it. But trust me when I say you should not be using 100 stacks on any seasonal gear. And this is something that you get later on. And also, if you talk to Fugar, like the seasonal like special gift thingies, you could get the 100 stacks and 150s either way. So you could get them in multiple different ways, but it's something that most people don't need, and this should be like the last thing you get. Breath, strength, and health coupon box. What does this do? So you see all these things right here, right? You know, your breath, strength, and health. You want to re-roll those to another character, you can. I really just don't care. It's one of those things, if you're completely re-rolling and got the other two things like the weapon exchange, the combat XP, and you want to change all that, that probably goes with it. But regardless, getting to like level 30 for all of these is pretty easy these days, so it's like it's not really worth doing. It's not as important. Pen accessory. Okay, so this one is kind of like a new player trap. So the pen accessory enhancement kit. So what do you use these on? Hit this button. You see this thing, Old Moon? This is what you're using it on to get all of these things. Keep in mind, while it may be worth it, it does not give you everything to get there. It only gives you a little bit. So it's like, it'll give you like what, 50-60% of it, and you still have to get the rest of it yourself. But with that said, nowadays in 2025, like, these are worth it if you are at a certain stage of the game where you actually think you need it, because these are, you know, kind of the same, or not really the same, but like slightly better than seasonal Tuvala gear, essentially. And what you do with these now is you melt it down for Essence of Dawn, and you can either, let me show you. You can either sell this for 100, like you get 100 from melting a pen down, no matter which one you pick. So that's a pretty decent amount of silver, but you use these to enhance your Karazad gear. So essentially, one day, like, you guys are going to go for all of this, and it's going to be something that's worth it. So is it something you should get early? No. But it is a good amount of silver. Like, if you're just straight up selling the magical shards, especially nowadays, for all the endgame players, because they need them, it's good. But, you know, I don't think it's, like, high priority on the list. It's important, but it's not high priority. Mount skill selection. Literally just ignore this one, because it's something that you might use later on, but it's not a beginner-friendly thing. It's like, you have to know what you're doing. You have to like training and horse, like, leveling and everything. So ignore this one. Choose your pet box. This is actually very good for beginners, because getting pets either takes a lot of time through orders on the central market, or you're spending money, like real money, on it. So I think this is something that is worth getting early on for new players, because pets are always going to be helpful, whether you're grinding or just like you just doing it for the stats. So this would probably be my #1 pick as a new player, just because, you know, pets are good. But when it came out, like, all this came out for me, it was like I already had my stuff. So maids, actually always good, very competitive with the pets. So pick one. I would probably choose pets first over maids, but, you know, you want to get these two first, because maids allow you to functionally, like, have a storage maid you could deposit and withdraw from your storages anywhere, not just in town, so it's always nice. And then tier 8 golden horse. This needs to be revamped, because you know how I talked about they give you like tier 9s and tier 10s for free these days? Yeah, like, the reason why you would get this is because you are trying to, like, breed and level up more horses to get your new tier 9 and tier 10. So aside from that, if you really just don't care, then ignore this one. 15-day box is a blessing of Kamasilv and Secret Book of Old Moon. I've talked about this in another video of which one you should get, because you can only pick one. So let me show you the stats on it, and, like, not really stats, but like what they do. So Blessing of Kamasilv is item drop rate, energy recovery, and more, like, weight for your central markets and stuff. And Secret Book of Old Moon gives you more XP and allow you to change add-ons and buy Villa Scrolls from the tent. So I've always said I value the Secret Book of Old Moon more than the Blessing of Kamasilv, but neither of them are particularly necessary. But if you were to get it, I would always choose Secret Book of Old Moon over Blessing of Kamasilv. It's pretty easy to get. Max item drop rate these days. Energy recovery is nice, but if you are not into life skilling, then, you know, it's kind of irrelevant, because that's probably more important to me than anything. Okay, so all of these are crystals. Now, if you combine all of these crystals, like one of each, it gives you a rebellious crystal. And let me show you. Yeah. So rebellious crystal, you combine one of each of them and it gives you this. These are endgame crystals. It's rare to find them on a market, but they are 2 billion, so I do think it is important. Let me... Oh, wait. Well, there's some sitting on the market, but it is still pretty expensive for new players, so I'd recommend... Well, here's the thing. These are good endgame crystals. However, if you don't know what you're doing, and, like, let's say you have a PvE death or something and lose it, that feels bad. So it's something you want to get, but like after you kind of know what you're doing, just make sure it is an endgame crystal, so it is important. But just keep in mind that you want to use it, but it's not like something you really care about early on, because I've talked about this. There are a lot of beginner-friendly crystals, and this one is kind of an expensive one. All right, so Krogdalo horse crafting gear, and you know, this one for horse, like this one is to make more horse gear, and this one is like, you know, just other stuff to make the Krogdalos. You know, how do I describe it? It's kind of like the same thing. You make the horse gear, but this one is a little bit easier to get than the other, and this one is just for the end game gear. You can buy both of these on the market, so like all of these you can get them off the market, so I think it's lower priority, and so that's about it. TLDR for the top half on one for, or the family exchange, get your pets, get your maids, and then, you know, anything that else that you think you might need afterwards, but high priority on pets and maids. And then I would probably choose like crystals, because those are something you will probably use forever, especially this combo of the rebellious. And then I don't, honestly, all of this is probably just like horse gear and everything, so maybe that after. All right, so this is the regular exchange. That means as long as you have tokens or seals, you can get them infinitely. Artisan worker box, good to have, but it's not a beginner friendly thing, so let me show you how it works. Like basically it gives you a box, and then it gives you a worker for any town, right? And then eventually what your goal is to get all artisan workers. The way you can check is over here. And so what I would recommend for new players is that you just get workers going on your nodes, and then later on when you have excess energy, that's when you start upgrading all of them to artisans. This is something I did a couple months ago, because over the years I've just been putting them on professional and then sending it, but then I've like actually was like, maybe I should start sending them all to artisan. So keep in mind that like if you can get, the earlier you could do it, the better, but it's not something you should worry about like early on. It's just like slightly better. And then the real like profit and node workers come in is based on the skills. So basically you want like mass production and like work speed and everything. So that's where the end game like thinking actually comes in. But as long as you have workers going, that's good enough. And then once you start min-maxing it later on, that's when things kind of get confusing and, you know, time consuming more, I should say. Okay, next, Golden Blessing of Agris. So when you grind, you see your loot scroll, right? There's two things. There is item drop rate and item drop amount. Item drop rate is the rarity, and item drop amount is quantity. That confuses some people, I understand, but yeah, it's one of those things where the amount is like the amount of trash loot. Rate is like getting treasure items and accessories, if that makes sense. So yeah, these are good. These make more silver directly in terms of trash loot. The rate is like you getting the rare item. So yeah, these are good. I don't know if I'd spend my seals on it, but these are definitely a good one to give it out through events. Supreme Old Moon Scrolls are just like, you see how this one says drop rate and then this one is drop amount. They're different. So item drop rate, they give a lot of these things for events. Like for example, we currently have a Halloween event going on, and you could buy these item drop rates and they give you like 25 of them. So that's like straight up getting 25 item drop rate scrolls. And then this one is one of them for 30. So most people will probably have a bunch of these left over by just playing the game in events. But if you grind a lot, then you might run out. All of these things, like, you could just buy them off the market. These are for tier 9 horses, a little bit less relevant. And then, yeah, all of these you could buy off the market. So would probably not recommend it. These things you cannot. These are just stuff that you use to get a tier 9 horse. Valkyries and Cronstones, always nice, but one of those I would recommend buying out the rest of the shop before getting like an individual Cronstone, if that makes sense. But anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about, going through the Seals of Journey. Let's go over this one more time for all of you who just want to know what to get. If you're a beginner, pet box, maid outfit, Floralmost accessory, those will give you the highest value. Everything else is situational. And then if the off chance you buy out everything, let's say you're watching this 5 years down the line and have everything done, what should you get from here? Artisan boxes, if you don't already have it, are nice. I value item drop amount pretty highly, as well as drop rate. I would probably get drop amount more. But yeah, aside from that, everything else is situational. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. You can join the Discord. Happy to point you guys in the right direction for whatever. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So if you're new, see you guys later, and hit that subscribe button. Peace.